Finally, we have hourly temperature and dew point. This is showing us that the temperature is minus 3.9 degrees Celsius. We know it's a minus because we have a 1 in the first digit. And we also have a 1 in the first digit for our dew point, which shows us that our dew point is minus 14.4 degrees Celsius. Okay, welcome to the private pilot and remote pilot exam prep reading Metars Aviation Routine Weather Report January 2022 practice session. All the information in here is valid as of January 2022. Now we're going to talk about decoding Metars. Those are the aviation weather reports. They have a weird format. You will have at least one Metar on your test, whether you're doing private pilot or remote pilot. Decoding Metars is not hard. It looks a little confusing the first time you see one, but with a little practice, you can do it. And it's easy to practice using real world data, which we'll talk about at the end. And you can see the links in the description. And we want to practice decoding Metars because weather is important to all pilots. Whether you're a private pilot, commercial pilot, or a drone pilot, weather is important. You don't want to crash your plane, and you don't want to lose that $2,000 drone that you just bought. Metars are always in a specific format. First off is your station ID, which is the airport that's issuing the Metar, the date and time, the report modifier, if any. That report modifier might be this supersedes previous Metars, wind direction and speed, visibility, runway visual range if it's needed. That's not always going to be on there. Weather phenomena, that's things like rain and snow. That's not always going to be on there either. If there's no snow or rain, it just doesn't list anything. Sky condition, which is your clouds, temperature and dew point, altimeter setting or pressure, and then remarks if any. So let's look at an example Metar. Now if you look at this looks like just like a big string of computer code. This is exactly what they look like when they're issued by the airport. Looks confusing, but with practice you will be able to read it quickly. So we're just going to go through it step by step. So our first block is KATL, and that is just the identifier, and that tells us that it's from the Hartsfield Airport in Atlanta. Now if you want to know what these K abbreviations are just go on Google and type it in. Just type in KATL space airport and it'll immediately let you know that it's Hartsfield Airport in Atlanta. Our next block is the time and date, which is a little bit confusing. The first two digits are the day of the current month. Now when I'm recording this is January, so this is the 23rd day of January. And then we have the time. The next four digits are the time. 0352. Z indicates Zulu time, which is also better known as UTC time. If you're a ham radio operator, you're used to UTC. So 3:52 Zulu time, and that's in a 24-hour format, so that means 3 hours and 52 minutes after midnight. Next, we have the wind. The first three digits are the direction that the wind is blowing from, and the next two digits are the speed. So what this shows us that the wind is blowing from 300 degrees at 5 knots. Next we have is the visibility, and it's 10 statute miles in Atlanta at the time of this Metar. So it's a nice clear night. So the phenomena, normally if there was phenomena like rain or snow, it would be listed here in between the visibility and the sky conditions, but there is none, so there's nothing showing. Next we have our clouds, CLR. This indicates that it's clear skies. Now there's lots of different abbreviations that could go here, and I'm going to give you a link at the end of the video in the description where you can use as a quick reference to understand what any abbreviations you might see in this section might be. Next we have the temperature and the dew point. Now these are in whole numbers, okay? So the first one is our temperature. That means 0 degrees Celsius. There's always going to be two digits. And the next one shows M04. Now the M means that the temperature following it is at minus or below 0. So this means -4 degrees Celsius, or some people might say -4 degrees Celsius. And your atmospheric pressure, which is what you'll set your altimeter to in your airplane, is 30.22. Next, RMK means that there are remarks following, which means they're not an official part of the Metar. They're just additional information that pilots might find helpful. AO2 means that this is an automated weather station. You see those ASOS and AWOS indicators on the sectional chart. That's probably what this is. Sea level pressure in hectopascals. This is telling us that the sea level pressure is 24.2. International pilots might find this more useful than the A3022 setting. And then we have the hourly temperature and dew point, which is telling us that it's 0 degrees because we have 4 digits, okay? The first digit is either going to be a 0 or a 1. 0 means that it's a positive temperature. 1 means that it's a negative temperature. So 0, 0, 0, 0 telling us that it's a positive 0 degrees. And our next 4 digits for our dew point, 1044. The 1 means it's a negative temperature, and it's 4.4 degrees Celsius, negative 4.4 degrees Celsius. Now this goes down to the tenths. So whenever you're reading this temperature, the last digit is always going to have a decimal point preceding it. All right, so let's look at another example. This is example 2. You can see this one adds a little bit more stuff, but with a little bit of practice, it's easy to do. So our identifier is KBWI, Baltimore Washington International Airport. Date and time, again, it's the 23rd day of the month at 12:37 UTC, 12 hours, 37 minutes past midnight. Wind is none, because it's essentially saying that the wind is coming from 0 degrees at 0 knots. So it's just another way of saying no wind. Visibility is 10 statute miles. There's no phenomena again, so it doesn't have anything listed there. And now we're going to talk about the clouds. And you can see there's 3 layers of clouds that are being listed here. The first layer, and these are in hundreds of feet, so there's a few clouds at 15,000 feet, broken clouds at 17,000 feet, and another layer of broken clouds at 21,000 feet. Remember that clouds are in layers, and the height listed is the bottom of the cloud layer. The actual clouds may go well above that, especially if you're talking about cumulus clouds. Next, again, we have the temperature and dew point. So the M is telling us it's a minus 4 degrees Celsius for the temperature and a minus 14 degrees for the Celsius. Remember, these are always listed in whole degrees. There's no decimal points in this part of the METAR. Next, we have the altimeter setting, or the pressure, which is 30.14. Again, we have remarks. And again, we have an automated weather station. Just about every METAR you see these days has this AO2. Surface level pressure of 20.7 hectopascals. Remember, the last digit is in tenths, so there's always going to be a decimal point before it. Finally, we have hourly temperature and dew point. This is showing us that the temperature is minus 3.9 degrees Celsius. We know it's a minus because we have a 1 in the first digit. And we also have a 1 in the first digit for our dew point, which shows us that our dew point is minus 14.4 degrees Celsius. KMCO. This one adds just a few more things to it, but we can do it. All right, so identifier KMCO, Orlando International Airport. Going to Disney World, this might be the airport you fly into. Time and date, 23rd day of the month, 03:53 UTC. So 3 hours and 53 minutes past midnight UTC. Remember, that's not local time. It's universal time coordinate, or Zulu time. Wind direction and speed. Wind is from 340 degrees at 8 knots. So just a little bit from the northwest at 8 knots. Visibility is 1/2 statute miles. And now here's something new. Now, anytime the visibility is a mile or less, you're going to have this runway visual range indicator here. And this is telling us how far you can see down the runway. It's giving us runway 35 left. You will be able to see P 6,000 feet. Now, P means more than 6,000 feet, okay? So you can see more than 6,000 feet down the runway. Now, what can you see? Well, it's indicating that you can see high contrast things like the high intensity lights that you might see on a runway. Now, if that was an M, it would mean less than 6,000 feet. It would mean that you can see less than 6,000 feet down the runway. So this is just telling you how far you can see down the runway. And it's a lot different than the visibility. The visibility is only a 1/2 mile but how far you can see in high intensity runway light is over a mile. And then finally, we have a phenomenon. The BR indicates that there's mist. And again, the links in the description will take you to documents that show you all the various abbreviations you might see here to show what's going on at the airport. Go back to our cloud layers. We have an overcast clouds at 400 feet. Temperature and dew point, 9 degrees Celsius, 8 degrees Celsius. So both of these are positive values. It's always listed 0908. It doesn't just list 9 or 8. And our altimeter setting is 30.18. Now we have remarks. Again, AO2, Automated Weather Station. And we do have another new one, SFC Viz 2. This is telling us that our surface visibility is 2 statute miles. So you can see there's a big discrepancy between the visibility at the surface and the visibility in the air. And our surface level pressure, 22.0 hectopascals. And our hourly temperature and dew point, 8.9 degrees Celsius and 7.8 degrees Celsius. These are both positive values because there's not a 1 in that first digit. All right, so now I want you to look at this Metar, pause the video, and see if you can figure this one out on your own. We've talked about every one of these, so just pause it for a minute, look over these, and see if you can figure out what they are. If you don't remember all of them, that's fine, but see how many of these you can remember off the top of your head. Okay, so let's see how we did. Identifier KLAX. Most of you probably immediately knew that was Los Angeles International Airport. Time and date, 23rd day of the month, 13:53 UTC or Zulu time. Wind, no wind. Wind is coming from 0 degrees at 0 knots, so it's just saying no wind. Visibility, 10 statute miles. Clear skies, CLR means clear skies. Temperature and dew point, 12 degrees Celsius is our temperature, and our dew point is minus 1 degree Celsius. Big discrepancy there, which you can see happen a lot, especially in places like Los Angeles. Altimeter setting, 30.14. And then we have our remarks. AO2, once again, Automated Weather Station. Surface level pressure, 20.4 hectopascals. And our hourly temperature and dew point, 11.7 degrees Celsius and negative 1.1 degrees Celsius. And we know it's a negative because we have a 1 as the first digit in that 4-digit block. So outside of this video, how can you practice your Metars? And you do need to practice your Metars. So the way I do it is you go to aviationweather.gov and you can get the current and past Metars for airports all over the United States. You can go and look at the most recent ones. I usually just go and ask for the most recent Metars, and I don't put anything in the search field for the ID, and it gives me like the most recent 20 Metars. And you can have it show you the raw Metars, or it can have you show you the decoded Metars. Now, for understanding what all the various abbreviations you might see in a Metar are, you can download this document from the National Weather Service, the Metar Decode Key and Quick Reference Guide. And it'll show you all of the various indicators and abbreviations you will see in a Metar. Using those two sources, you can easily practice decoding Metars on your own. So why should you even bother practice? Like we said, Metars are on the written exam. Weather is critical to all pilots. Flying into weather you're not prepared for is the best way to crash your plane or to lose your drone. And daily practice of decoding just one Metar can greatly improve your ability to decode them in a hurry. You may find yourself in a situation where ForeFlight or other online resources are not available. So thanks for watching. Please leave a like, a comment, or below. And as always, fly safe.